Hello, welcome to Library Storytime. Our first story today is Double Trouble Groundhog Day. Do you know Groundhog Day's coming?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. February the 2nd. There they are together. And they're actually twins. One fall evening on Weather Vane Mountain, the groundhog family gathered in their burrow. They were enjoying one final filling feast before their long winter nap. The twins, Gregory and Greta, squabbled over the last piece of pumpkin pie. "I got it," said Gregory. "I got it first," cried Greta. Gregory poked Greta. Greta bumped Gregory. Gregory tweaked Greta's tail. Greta pulled Gregory's ear. "Twins," said Dad Groundhog, shaking his head. "Double trouble," said Granny Groundhog with a smile. You boys and girls don't do that, right? You don't fight over things. No. Late breaking news. Grandpa Groundhog stood up and clinked his glass. "There's a change in the wind," he announced. "As you know, every year on the second day of February, I pop out of the ground. If I see my shadow, there will be 6 more weeks of winter. If I don't see my shadow, we'll spring into spring." Gregory stopped poking Greta to listen. Greta stopped bumping Gregory to listen. "But I am getting old and a bit under the weather," said Grampy. "So I'm turning our family forecasting job over to one of you young'uns." Oh, I wonder which one it should be. They're interested, you can tell by the looks on their faces. The twins jumped up and down. "I'll do it," said Gregory. "No, I want to do it," cried Greta. "Me," said Gregory. Me, said Greta. "We will draw straws," said Granny Groundhog. "The one with the longer straw gets the job." Gregory pushed his glasses back on his nose. "I'll be in all the newspapers," he said. "I'll be on TV," Greta said. She danced a happy star dance all around the room. "Greta, you pick," said Grampy. Greta stopped dancing, squeezed her eyes tight, and wished. Then she picked the straw. "I get the job," crowed Gregory. "I'll be famous." He looked at himself in the mirror. "Gregory the Great." Look at that. "Gregory the Gross," said Greta. "Poor loser," said Gregory. Greta stuck out her tongue. Gregory chased Greta with a pillow. "Twins," said Mom Groundhog, shaking her head. "Double trouble," said Grampy with a wink. "Time for bed," said Dad Groundhog. "The world is counting on you, Gregory." "You betcha," said Gregory, brushing his teeth. Gregory the Great, world-famous forecaster, preparing for bed. Greta rolled her eyes. Gregory set his alarm clock for February 2nd. Soon everyone was sound asleep, except Gregory. "Let's see," he thought. "If I see my shadow, I say, spring will come soon." No, that's if I don't see my shadow. If I don't see my shadow, I say, it will be winter for 6 more weeks. No, that's if I see my shadow. Oh. Gregory drifted off to sleep. In his dreams, weather maps swirled, umbrellas had teeth, and giant mittens chased him. Now he's all worried about this, isn't he? Still sleeping, Gregory slowly got out of bed and popped out of the hole. He stood on a stump and waved his eyeglasses. 6 more shadows, he shouted. "Winter is springing soon." I think we're a little mixed up. What do you think? Then he crawled back under his warm quilt and fell into a deep sleep for the rest of winter. Ring! The alarm clock rang. Greta woke up. It was February 2nd, but Gregory was still sound asleep. Gregory, wake up, cried Greta. You have to forecast the weather. Gregory moaned. I am so tired. Greta danced a wake-up dance around the room. Gregory plopped his pillow over his eyes. Greta tickled him. Gregory pulled the covers over his head. Greta blew a trumpet. Toot, toot, toot. Gregory mumbled. I don't think he's turning out to be a very good forecaster. He can't wake up. If you don't get up, said Greta, how will farmers know when to plant crops? How will fathers know if they need fishing rods or fireplace logs? How will mothers know if they should pack picnics or bake bread? And how will children know if they need umbrellas and kites or sleds and mittens? Umbrellas with teeth, Gregory mumbled. Giant mittens. Umbrellas don't have teeth, and mittens are small, said Greta. You must have had a bad dream. Are you getting stage fright? I'm a little nervous, admitted Gregory from under the covers. It's being a good big sister trying to help, right? Yes, she's not the big sister, but... Gregory rolled over and opened one eye. Then he opened the other eye. Everything was blurry. Where are my glasses? He asked. Where did you put them? Asked Greta. I don't know. All I can remember is something about shadows, said Gregory. They looked under the quilt. They looked inside the dresser. They looked in his slippers. They looked everywhere, but Gregory's glasses could not be found. This gets worse and worse, moaned Gregory. How can I see my shadow if I can't see my own paw in front of my face? I'll help you, said Greta. Hurry, the world is waiting. Greta grabbed Gregory and together they scrambled out of the hole. Lights flashed, cameras whirled, reporters scribbled. Am I seeing double? Asked Mayor Marva Moose. Hey, there are 2 groundhogs, cried the TV crew. So, what's your prediction? Asked reporter Jack Rabbit. Tell us, shouted the crowd. Well, that would be different that there's 2 groundhogs there. There is no shadow, Greta whispered into Gregory's ear. Gregory's knees shook. He took a deep breath. There is no shadow, he squeaked. Spring will come soon, added Greta. Spring, hooray, shouted the reporters. Spring, hooray, shouted the crowd.
See, his glasses is on the lawn.
Oh, they are, aren't they? Good eye, good eye. And here are your glasses, right on this stump. You must have been sleepwalking, said Greta. Maybe so. It looked like he was. Everyone waved groundhog banners. They held groundhog balloons. The band began to play the groundhog stomp. Everyone danced and sang. They're having a big party. Spring is coming soon, it says on the little sign. Later that day, the twins went to the newsstand. The Groundhog Gazette headlines read, "No trouble, and that's double." But I'd have been in trouble without your help, said Gregory. We make a great team. You betcha, said Greta, hugging him. Gregory waved the newspaper. I'll show this to Grampy, he said. No, I will, cried Greta. Greta tweaked Gregory's tail. Gregory pulled Greta's ear. Greta chased Gregory down the hill around the bush and into the burrow. By thunder, said Grampy, squinting at the paper. You 2 young'uns sure are fine forecasters. Not a shadow of a doubt. Gregory pushed his glasses back on his nose. I can't wait till we can do it again next year, he said. We? Asked Greta. Of course, said Gregory. Greta grinned. Make that double. Yep, she was more than happy to help Gregory, wasn't she? She wanted to do it anyway. So that was double trouble for Groundhog Day. All right, Miss Lisa has something for us.
Okay, so we're going to do a little activity with shadows today. So you know with a groundhog, it's all about whether he sees his shadow or not. So today I'm going to give you guys some pictures. Here's some for you. And these are winter objects that we might be seeing and using in the winter. And I'm going to put up what the shadow would look like. And let's see if we can't play a little matching game. All right, here's the first thing making a shadow. Can anyone tell me what that object is? Go ahead and bring up the actual object. That's right, those are ice skates. So in the winter, you guys might go ice skating. Now, I've tried it a time or two and I can't balance. It's very hard for me to do that. Roller skating's much easier. You can ice skate. So, but if you would shine a light on this ice skate, that would be the shadow that we would see behind it. Now here's one of my favorite winter things. What is that a shadow for? All right, the snowflakes are so tiny, I don't know that snowflakes could ever make a shadow, but if you made a paper one, it would definitely make that shadow, wouldn't it? Because it's exactly the same, it's just all black. All right, what might this be? This is little Gregory's dream, right, in the story we just heard? All right, we're going to match that mitten. And can you turn it so it looks exactly like the shadow? There you go. Yep, I think it's the thumbs up. There we go. So there's the shadow for a mitten. Oh, let's see. I think this shadow goes like this. What might that be a shadow to? We like hot chocolate in the winter? It's one of my favorite ones. Well, we'll go right here next to this. What? This looks like just a big rock with a fuzzball on top. Oh, it's a stocking hat. That's cool. Okay, so that makes that shadow. What would this shadow be? That's something that first happens in the first of winter, right? Like a sleigh. Some people have sleigh rides, or Santa does a sleigh. Got a couple more. This is something I haven't had to use too much yet this winter. He's up again. And we have a shovel. All right. And here's our very last shadow.
Aw.
And our last shadow is our snowman. Awesome. So when a light hits an object, this is what is like behind it or in front of it. Depending on where the light is shining, you get a shadow. So February 2nd's coming up. We'll have to see if the groundhog sees his shadow or not to let us know if we're having more winter. All right, so we have another book for you today. It's called Imagine That. Using our imagination is something that's a lot of fun to do. You never be bored if you have using your imagination. So let's see what these children do in this story. Well, to begin with, they're up in a hot air balloon, flying high. It was a gray, rainy Monday morning when Elliot left 22nd Green Lane to drag himself to school. So this must be Elliot. From the corner of his eye, he saw someone skipping out of the house next door. That must be the new neighbor. I saw her practicing cartwheels, he thought to himself. Why do girls always have to do cartwheels when they see a piece of grass? So wondering and thinking about this girl here who's skipping in the rain. Hello, called the girl. My name is Ruby. Elliot pretended not to hear her. Ruby jumped and skipped and zigzags behind him. What are you doing? Elliot snapped. I'm trying to avoid these porthole puddles, of course, beamed Ruby. And you should too. You never know where you might end up. What do you mean? Elliot asked. They're just puddles. So she's thinking that these are like portholes or portals into another dimension. Let's see if she jumps into one. The last time I stepped in one, said Ruby, I landed on a pirate ship and was held prisoner by Captain Blackbeard and his fierce crew. I had to scrub the slimy deck and polish the plank for a week. Elliot just shook his head. Does he believe her? No, but she's using her imagination. See the little thought bubbles? Good thing she didn't get hurt by the shark. See the little feather duster? She's getting off the spider. Cracks me up. Early the next day, Ruby and Elliot met on their way to school. Elliot kicked a small pebble, there it went, along the sidewalk. That looks like a spaceship that went through the atmosphere and shrank down little, announced Ruby. I wonder what creatures were on board. So she thinks this is a spaceship and there's little critters living inside there. What do you think Elliot thinks? What are you talking about? It's just a pebble, replied Elliot, and he walked off to class. But later that day, Elliot couldn't help but wonder what a spaceship full of aliens might look like. So look, maybe he's drawing in class and he actually drew the little spaceship with some crazy looking aliens. On Wednesday morning, Elliot and Ruby found a rolled up piece of paper. It's a treasure map, Ruby shouted excitedly. Are you sure? Asked Elliot, thinking it just looked like a newspaper, right? Absolutely, cried Ruby, holding up the old glass bottle. And this must be what it came in. She's got a good imagination. Imagine what adventures it has had. Who do you think threw it into the ocean? Elliot just shrugged. Well, continued Ruby, I think an elephant was sniffing in the sand when he got the bottle stuck on his nose. She's really got an imagination. And it tickled him so much that he had a 255 mile per hour sneeze. And the bottle shot out of his trunk and it landed in the water with a splash. That's ridiculous, said Elliot, strolling off. I mean, there's no way an elephant could sneeze a bottle out of his trunk that far. So silly. When Elliot left his house on Thursday, Ruby was nowhere to be seen. Although the sun was shining brightly, Elliot was thinking about how dull things seemed when, whoops, he almost tripped over a long broken branch that was lying on the sidewalk in front of him. Do you think maybe he's been around Ruby enough to think that that's something more than just a branch?
Yep.
What could that branch be? Let's see
Might be
here.
a boat.
A boat? Any other ideas about what it might be? Could he imagine it?
Sword.
A sword, yeah, I'm thinking that might be right. Let's see what he does with it. Hello, giggled a voice from above. It was Ruby. Why, look at that witch's broomstick, she said, waving it from the tree. It fell out of the sky because a flock of crows carried her back to the evil wizard. She's creating stories out of everything, isn't she? Wow. Wow. But why did the crows carry her away? Asked Elliot. There's the crows carrying her away. Because she stole the wizard's favorite spell, answered Ruby. Well, what kind of spell did the witch take? Elliot asked. It was a self-replenishing, tasty treat potion. The evil wizard has really a sweet tooth, don't you know? Ruby responded. Elliot licked his lips. He's really getting into the story now, isn't he? He's not shaking his head anymore. But look at her giant cupcake. And there goes the broom, which was the stick that Elliot found. Friday morning soon arrived. Ugh, Ruby exclaimed, scrunching up her nose. What's that horrible, disgusting smell? You see fish bones and leftover food and dirty socks. Elliot thought for a second, and then he said, well, it's probably dinosaur dung. You guys know what that dung means? It's poop. Dinosaur poop. Look at all those cracks along the sidewalk. The dinosaur must have been stomping right here where we're standing, and maybe he's still here. Who's using imagination now? Elliot, yeah. Come up with a weird idea like dinosaurs. A dinosaur? Ruby squeaked and threw her arms up. Of course, said Elliot, with flaming red scales and sharp, razor-sharp teeth. He looked at Ruby, and then they both started laughing, and then together they raced as fast as they could all the way to school. And that's it. Ruby taught Elliot how to use his imagination. I love that story. It's called Imagine That.
Imagine that.
Yep.
One more story today. I'm sorry. You ever have to say you're sorry? Yeah, we all do. We all have to say we're sorry sometimes. Every morning, Scribble and Swoop met halfway out at the bend in the river. There never were two greater friends in all of Walnut Woods. That looks like fun. Skipping across those stones in the river. Scribble always brought his special pencil. It helps me find the right words for my plays, he said. And when each play was written, he called to Swoop and the show began. Swoop laughed and cried and cheered for more. Swoop also had her own special thing, a box that never left her side. Tucked beneath its lid were tools and screws and scraps of wood. Everything an owl needs to make stuff, she smiled. There was nothing she could not build. So they kind of make a team, don't they? But Scribble and Swoop walked for each day to meet at the bend in the river. Why don't we find a home we can share? Asked Scribble one morning. Swoop knew just the place. There was room for two with a little left over. The perfect home for two best friends, said Swoop with a happy hoot. Oh boy, so they're bringing in their boxes and getting all set up in their new home. After everything was unpacked, they sat in the shade of their beautiful porch. The breeze whispered, the bees bumbled, and that's when Scribble had a great idea. This is the ideal place to perform my plays, he thought. A theater. But Swoop was lost in her own thoughts. Plenty of daylight and room for my tools. A workshop just for me. Even best friends don't always think alike. The very next day, Scribble woke up early and scurried over to the porch. The world's greatest theater, he announced, hoisting up the curtains. He didn't see Swoop shuffle in with her special box of tools. There was a hoot, a rip, and a clatter-bang crash. Even the bees stopped bumbling. Oh my, look what has happened. Tore down that curtain already. The two friends glared. Get that stuff off my stage, said Scribble. Your stage? Since when? Scoffed Swoop. This porch is mine. No, mine, Scribble snapped. Then grumbling and muttering, they both marched off. They have a problem. How do you think they could solve it? Do you have any ideas?
They saying sorry. They can maybe make a wood chop on one side and a theater on the other.
That's a good solution. Yeah, well, let's see what happens. Swoop had never felt so furious. She gathered Scribble's tattered curtains and fixed them with a big, angry stitch. All done, she huffed and flung them over a branch. Then she called to Scribble. Do your plays over here, she hissed, and not on my porch. But Swoop started to feel a little sad. No amount of stitches could fix her friend's hurt feelings. Stitches will fix a curtain, but not hurt feelings. The hours passed, the bees bumbled, and all the while Scribble fumed. Swoop has never been this rude, he growled, but already he missed his friend. Scribble picked up his special pencil. Time after time it had helped him find the perfect words and made problems disappear. But what words could ever make things right between them? And then Scribble found it. The perfect word. I'll fix this once and for all, he declared. Do we know what the perfect word is?
Thank you.
Scribble stomped up to Swoop, took a huge breath and yelled, sorry! But sorry is not a magic word. It only works if you mean it. Gotta mean it. And that didn't sound like he meant it, did it? You're not sorry at all, replied Swoop. And it was true. He wasn't. The word hadn't worked, and now Scribble was more upset than ever. This pencil is useless, he cried and snapped it in two. All at once he realized what he had done. Then came a sob that shook him from whiskers to tail. Swoop's heart slumped with sadness. Scribble, I'm sorry, she whispered. The porch wasn't mine to take. I ruined your curtains, and I hurt your feelings. But I've been just as mean, wailed Scribble. I never asked if I could build a theater. Then Swoop took a step toward her friend. Aw, I think things are going to get better now. And the hug they shared was enough for two, with the little left over. From now on, said Swoop, let's always make our plans together. So Scribble picked up the tools and screws and every last scrap of wood. And Swoop fixed Scribble's pencil so that the angry snap was just a memory. That's pretty cool. You can fix a pencil that way. Scribble and Swoop always remembered that I'm sorry only works if you mean it. And as for the porch, they agreed to share it. You're right. A place for writing in the morning and a place for making things in the afternoon. And every evening, when the sun went down, it was a theater for two best friends. That's a very good solution, I think, don't you? Oh, goodness. And that's the end of the story. Sounded like a good ending to me. Now, so, sorry fixes things only if we mean it, right? Right. All right, well, that's all the time we have today. We hope you enjoyed the stories and the activity. Just have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.